We are framing this beautiful wedding bouquet, which was put together in the shape of a wreath, and it's like a heart. And you've heard me say this before, the real challenge with this thing is that it sheds like crazy. Let's take a look. Just look underneath it. And that's just from sitting there. I decided not to spray this. I've sprayed things before with a lacquer, but this has ribbons on it. I'm not sure how that's going to respond to the lacquer. So we're not going to spray it. So how do we solve this problem? Back in 1 second, we're going to show you. Of course, this has to be in a very deep frame. So this is what we've made. And what you're going to see is that this box is what's going to hold the wreath. And the important thing is that this front is going to open up like a cabinet with a glass door. That way the client can open it up and take out the dust. If I seal this thing together, it's just going to turn into a mess in there. So let me show you the box. I'm going to take the wreath out. I'm going to put the frame away. Okay, so here's the box. I decided not to 45 the corners. This is going to be the bottom. This will be puttied and filled in. Pretty cool thing. It's built the way you put a panel into a cabinet door. One more piece of tape to go. And so what you can see is that the back panel that the wreath is attached to fits into the slot that goes all the way around. And I think this should work out just fine. Of course, the inside of the box is going to be lined with a beautiful mat board, and this whole thing was just built on my table saw.
0, 1, 2, 3. Let's get started. Oh, that's real good.
Well, like an idiot, I left my big long bar clamps at home. And as you can see, what I really need to do is clamp from here to pull this in like that before I screw it. So I'm just making what's called a bench clamp. This is hitting the post. This keeps this from moving. And now if Kelly gets in close on that little area that isn't flush, let me just get ready to throw a drill in here. Matter of fact, you probably won't see me drill the clamping bar in place, but you actually come back in on that, Kelly, and you can see how this is not flush. Now we're perfect. So anyway, that's a bench clamp. In an emergency, never fails. The important thing is that this remain perfectly square, and it follows the inside of the frame, which is going to be like the door that's going to open and close on it. And having clamped as I went, this thing is dead on square. I think we are going to be okay. So here's a quick tip when you're building something like this, because it is a square, but these are longer than these, and boy, if you put together the wrong two pieces, you're screwed because this panel slides in there. So what I did was I called what's called a dry fit. I put everything together with tape as you saw upstairs, and then when I got back down here, I numbered everything. This is corner 3, 3, 3. This is corner 4. This is corner 1. This is corner 2. That way when you go to put it together, you know exactly how it all lines up. And the other thing is, I wrote the 3 and the numbers on top. I could very easily, if it happened to anyone, I could very easily put one of these on upside down with the groove here in the wrong place. That can happen. So number and mark everything, dry fit everything, number everything, mark which way it goes, and then when you start gluing and screwing it, you know it's going together correctly. Okay, so what you're looking at here is the back of the frame, and I want you to remember this is basically going to be like a cabinet door. The glass is in here, and so now the glass really has to be held safely in place. Some people will put spacers in with tape to hold the glass on. If you do that, you pretty much have to rip them off, break them to take it apart. I've seen people glue the glass in. Let's say the glass breaks. Now you have to break it even further to take it apart. So the best thing to do, these were milled down to exactly the right size on my planer. And they're going to be painted black to match the frame. They go in like this. And what you'll notice is that this is completely flush to this, because remember, this has to close against the box. So now I drill little holes here and here and on all of them, and these get screwed in with little screws which will be painted black. You'll hardly see them. Now, if the glass ever were to break and you have to replace it, you undo a couple of screws and the whole thing comes nicely apart. Okay guys, we will show you more later. Okay, so this is like a cabinet door with a glass hinge, and it's going to be getting hinges here so the client can open it up and dust out all the stuff that falls off of that beautiful bouquet that was made to be shaped like a heart. The problem is the inside of the frame has to line up perfectly with the inside of the box, and of course if I do this, I can't see what's going on. So let's see what I came up with. If you look, in each corner, I put a block in. So now this can't move. And now we can turn it over and put the hinges on, knowing that this will stay perfectly lined up to the box. All right, show you more later. Okay, so here's the frame itself that the box is going to go on to. You saw us putting the hinges on. If we come in close, you can see that there is a wooden spacer in here. I'm going to put my hand behind, right here. And that's in with little countersunk black screws. And I'm going to lay it down so you can see it. And this is what holds the glass in place. And now we're going to come over and we're going to take a look at the box. Okay, so the box is built, sanded, painted, looks great. It has not been lined yet with a mat board, but before I did that, I wanted to work out how we hang the wreath. And there's a picture hook back in there. And when I get it all done, I'll show you in more detail how it all works. I think this is going to look great. You know, and we did see on a framer's website when they were dealing with this type of thing, to actually leave the petals and stuff on the bottom. So if we look at this again, so I'm gonna move these screws out of the way. Imagine if this is in a frame and you've gone through these little flower petals sitting on the beautiful mat board we lined it with. I don't know, I think that might look nice. And I'll tell you, even if you don't like the way it looks, I know it's unavoidable. This is just going to shed. So fortunately, I think this is going to look great, and we will show you more later. Okay, guys, finally it's done. Probably 2 full days of work to put all this together. And we want to keep something in mind. This is not a regular cabinet door that's made to be opened all the time like in your kitchen. Those have spring-loaded hinges, which we can't put on this because those would show. Sometimes they'll have a latch inside. We can't do that because it would show. So because of that, Kelly's going to come around and show you this side. We have these beautiful brass hooks that keep it closed. I did experiment with burying magnets into the frame and into this, and they just wouldn't hold it. So I got these beautiful brass hooks. I think they look great. And if we go to the other side, which would be harder to see, you're going to see these beautiful decorative brass hinges. Oh, there, you can see them. Oh, yeah. Oh, they're lovely. I'm really thrilled with how this came out. And as you can see, we lined the entire inside with the mat board. Now, you're going to notice I left a little space where the mat board meets. Just a little crack where the mat board meets. What happens is mat board expands and contracts. If you've ever seen a job like this and these start sagging, it's because the mat board can't expand and contract, so it pushes against the edge and the middle pops out. This gives it a little leeway, and it's going to make these a lot more stable. Now, to the way it looks, we talked about this earlier, I love having the flowers on the bottom. I think it just looks beautiful, and as I said before, I think our client's going to love it, and I hope she does, because this is unavoidable. One note, when our client opens the door to clean it or do anything, I want it to be a 2-person job. I want 1 person to stand here. This will hold up okay, but just give this a little support because it's a lot of weight on those beautiful hinges. And then when you're all done, you simply close it and latch those beautiful brass hooks back on. And I'll tell you, I am so excited for a client to see this. She's been very patient, and we're going to call her right now and tell her it is done.